Hey everyone, I'm Case Aiken, and I gotta say, it is a relief to be finished with that 5-part series on Captain's Marvels, because my awareness of things related to many of those characters has changed a lot since I initially wrote those threads. Monica made it onto WandaVision, Janice might be coming back, Phyla did come back, and the Carol Danvers movie came out, and since then, she has become a big part of the MCU. So there was a lot of things to update in my discussions of those characters. So why don't we take a break from that while sticking with captains and talk about something a bit simpler. A captain from a multiverse spanning superhero corps of Captains Britain. Oh no. Alright, so for those unaware of the general property of Captain Britain, the character is not a British version of Captain America. If anything, it began more as sort of a mystical version of Daredevil, what with an acrobatic superhero with a mystic staff. And then, and this will become a recurring theme, that all changed about the time Alan Moore joined the book. Originally, the deal was Brian Braddock was presented with a choice between the Sword of Death and the Amulet of Life by the wizard Merlin. He chose life and became a champion for Merlin. But somewhere along the line, he went from being an acrobatic-style character to getting a massive power upgrade, putting him in the Superman class. And that's when roughly Moore came on the book. There was some shuffling of creative teams at the time, and he developed the character into sort of a stiff upper lip of a Superman analog. Now, even crazier, Captain Britain started dealing with extra-dimensional forces, and it didn't take long for him to meet up with alternate reality versions of himself. This is incidentally for the Marvel Comics universe where we first get the designation Earth 616, or for you Cerebro fans, 616. See, it turns out that there are many captains, the name changing depending on what the reality calls Britain. England, Albion, Airstrip 1, etc. And they make up this reality-spanning police force working under Merlin or whomever controls Otherworld. This led to plenty of doppelganger weirdness. He gets replaced by another reality version of himself at one point, he has a weird flirtation with Captain UK, and eventually he becomes the leader of this team of himselves. He links up with Excalibur, which basically becomes a continuation of the story started in his book, now with X-Men crossovers. Now, oh boy, I wrote this in January of 2019, and things have changed for the next part of this bit. But when I first wrote it, I said, now, an X-Men connection wasn't weird at this point. His sister was the mutant Psylocke, who was a British mutant whose mind was transplanted into the body of an Asian assassin from Daredevil's foe, the Hand, by Iron Man's enemy, the Mandarin, who had a stint as Captain Britain. And at the time, that was true, and I always thought it was a shame and had ideas like, man, it would be cool to make her Captain Britain. And then bam, the Hickman era of X-Men kicked in, and Betsy Braddock is now back in her original body and Captain Britain leading the team of Excalibur. And I gotta say, that book is amazing. You gotta go read it. It is wonderful, and they have made Betsy from a character I really liked to a character I love so much. But anyway, getting back to Brian for the moment. He's able to fly as well as being super strong and durable thanks to a force field around his body, and he wears a suit that augments that field, making him a true heavy hitter. Speaking of suits, while there have been some duds when looking at Captain Britain's costumes over the years, the Union Jack just makes for some great outfits. And I mean, there have been a lot of variants. The costume keeps getting redesigned. And I mean, a lot. Of course, I should also note there was an Ultimates version. This one, a government-funded super soldier wearing a suit that gave him superpowers. And I think there was even a Spider-Man who played double duty. And as with today, there have been multiple stints with characters besides Brian bearing the name, such as with the hero who later went on to be Lionheart. But for the longest time, the title kept coming back to Brian, Merlin's favorite, successor to King Arthur, hero of the multiverse. But that's not where we're at today, because now, Betsy is Captain Britain. So for the first time, I'm gonna have to write a thread on Betsy between this video dropping and next week because I have to talk about her. It would be crazy not to. But I should also note what has since happened with Brian. Brian rejected the claim to Captain Britain having, in a moment of weakness, pulled the Sword of Death. But since then, in his struggle to be redeemed, through everything, through his alcoholism, through his issues with his wife, through all of his failures of being a superhero, he is struggling to be a Knight of Avalon and has since become Captain Avalon, serving Otherworld in a new capacity. And if you're interested in this character, I would highly recommend you go check out Connor Goldsmith's Cerebro podcast. He did a great episode on Brian Braddock that really made me think about the character in new ways, so I would highly encourage checking that out. Next week, I'm going to be back with an episode on Betsy because, like I said, it'd be crazy not to. But until then, stay super, man. Okay, and now this is, of course, the time where I ask you all to do the usual YouTube stuff, like liking this video and subscribing to this feed. Check out our website with all of our podcasts. There's a ton of great stuff that we at Certain POV are putting out, and you should really check it all out. Also, check out our Discord and talk with us directly. Do that stuff. Do the things.